Well, this is probably the roughest Yamaha Bravo on YouTube. This was my childhood sled, grew up on, and back then it used to actually be in half decent shape, but I just beat the snot out of this thing. It used to have the bumper, but I smacked into a fence pole, totally folded it, and actually kind of messed up the body a little bit in places. This thing seems to be falling off now. You can see I got custom scratchers, or just super worn out ski rods. Decided to give up the ghost and flip around there. This thing was parked for over 10 years because the track developed a rip in it because the front limiter strap was broken for years, and whenever you would jump the thing, the front end of this slider assembly or whatever would fall down, and you can see there was always a few of these things missing. Well, not always, they just kind of fell apart. And then this would actually poke through here and catch. Actually, I guess there's only one missing before. But the second time, or the third time that I had jumped it and caught this track on the slider rail there, it actually ripped out one more section and just decided to tear the track up here. But this year I got ambitious. I stitched it back together with rope, and believe it or not, it actually works. I've been booting around here over the last couple of days and it's holding up well. I guess there's still some ski rod left on this side, but only the last chunk of it there. So you can see how that one's just kind of folded around and went behind the ski. Just look at how beat this belly pan is. Like, she has been around the block, this one. You can just see. I hit that post at quite a high rate of speed and it just kind of tore through the body right here. I managed to break these off. These all used to be on it. That's too bad. Of course, the last 10 years it was sitting, but the awesome decals have started cracking and looking really faded. That's too bad. You don't see a lot of Bravos with this decal on it. The windshield was actually off our '07 Bravo that we used to have, because the original one for this thing was just totally beat. No key, no kill switch. Actually, I think the kill switch got ripped off when I hit that post. I'm pretty sure. So the only way you could shut it off was using the choke here. It was nice to use the choke because you could just choke it, just give it barely enough to shut it off so it wasn't insanely flooded when you go to restart. But with over 10 years of just sitting around outside in the rain, I guess some rain made its way in here and down the choke cable. And oh, that's another thing that broke. Just last night actually, this thing broke. Went and rusted up in the choke plunger deal there. So that thing's totally seized and destroyed. But I did tear the carb down and clean her right out, and she's working pretty good now. It was still a little boggy when I first drove it, but I don't know if that's just from the fuel pump was sitting too long. The little rubber valves in there may have been kind of sticky or hardened up, but it's working really good now. The oiler was bypassed because that's what actually killed this engine back when I was a kid. Of course, it started seizing up and I didn't care. I kept driving it. I'd just give it a few minutes and take off again until it actually destroyed the crank bearings. It actually started to knock, thus destroyed the crank seals, and it started getting extremely hard to start, super boggy, no power. So finally I sent the crank away, got it rebuilt, redid the top end myself, except I never did have the head fixed properly. I just honed it really good. So there was still actually quite a deep score. You could feel it with your fingernail really good, but whatever, I just put it back together, a new piston and rings and totally refreshed crank, and it actually runs. Although I'm sure it doesn't run quite as mint as if it had a fresh cylinder, but so the oiler's out of the question now. My hood seems to be kind of broken right there. That's too bad. But they're just fiberglass, so I'm sure if I got some fiberglass fixer stuff there, I could fix her up. If anyone's got a 1990 Yamaha Bravo or anything similar and they need the tune-up sticker specifications, there you are. I can't let this hood just fall down here or it's going to stress this side, so I got to try to hold this in the camera. check out my engine. Yeah, not to mention, I lost all the bolts for this when I was rebuilding it, so it's just kind of sitting there, wired together. My engine mounts are a little bit loose. The nut is just MIA for that one down there, as you can see. Put one on it when I had the carb out there the other night, but it just kind of rattled itself off again. I need to pull the motor out and tighten the motor mounts from the bottom. That's the big problem. She's just rattled herself loose over the years. The primary clutch is just a disaster. It still works totally fine. I gotta give it that. It's for as rattly and floppy as it is, it works like it's just out of the factory. Unlike the Polaris over there. All the bushings are shot. The clutch rocks. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's purely just play in the outer sheave. There. Now that's button play. That's insane. That's not a very tight clutch anymore, and you can really hear it when it's running. Idling or at low revs, this thing just rattles. To be honest, it's always done that, but as time goes on, the more miles get on that clutch, it slowly gets louder and louder. And I don't know, is this like a rare size track or something? Because, you know, lots of the short track Bravos you see, track ends about right here. And then, of course, the most common, I think, type is the long track. This is like the middle track. And I don't know if that was specific to the transporter name, but believe me when I say that these tracks are impossible to find. I can't find a replacement. That's why it's been sitting around for so many years. I can find them for the short track. I can find them for the long track, but not this transporter track anywhere. At this point, I just redneck fix the track and just kind of sorting out her issues. Gonna recover the seat. I'm gonna clean it all up and WD buff it. Just make her a little more presentable, and then I think I've decided I'm gonna invest in a long track and just chop it down to the size of this one and just find those connectors so I can put the track together. That'd be the easiest thing, I think. Of course, the stickers MIA. Another thing there. Of course, this poor hose, I can't even, unless it really is that low. It probably is that low. She's just about out of gas. There's no light bulb in it. There's our toolkit. Oh, a good crescent wrench. What do you know? I lost the oil cap when I was a kid, so I threw this on there. Although that's totally irrelevant now. Anyways, let's take this old mossy beast for a rip. Give her the beans while I start it. My idle screw is turned all the way in. For some reason, the idle screw just doesn't push on the throttle as much as it used to. So this is like maximum crank throttle. automatic shutdown. Gotta love it. I'm very excited to get this thing going again. Mark my words, I am going to make this a half decent sled again. Well, I just found these old pictures from my old Nikon film camera that my grandma gave me years ago. And here is the Bravo when she was just in cherry condition. Look at that. Doesn't it look so good? That's my dad pulling me on some skis I had. That was probably the winter we bought it. An action photo of Twiggy. And here's one of the many times I got this thing stuck. I was too little, I couldn't get it unstuck. You can see my shovel there. I was trying, boy. I think I tried here for about an hour. Finally I give up, and that's when I got my camera and started taking pictures of it. Just look at it though, eh? Look at the decals. Looks like the top of the word Bravo was actually blue back then. Boy, look at how empty the yard is. No sea of vehicles. There's the front of it. Oh, there's the old shop that got tore down. Mouse shed isn't even over there yet. Looks like it was still running. You can see my little round helmet. And there's my dad to the rescue. And this one will be when it's out. This is probably the best picture I have of this sled back when it was still in nice shape. It looks like there was some dents on the belly, but not much. Like, look at how straight it is. Now it's just full of dents. Of course, this can't see the condition of the ski rods. Oh, look at the seat. Yeah, this must have been right after we just got it, because look at how fresh the seat is. My dad actually put that on for me right when we bought it. Handlebars look like they're lower too. That's weird. I wonder if Dad adjusted them down for me or something. Oh, not to mention, look at the old log cabin. It's still just perfectly standing. That was 20 years ago, this picture. It's hard to imagine. And then I had to take a picture of my aftermath where I bogged her down. I got one last picture of it in this photo album here. I still remember that day. Actually, I think this is the same day as this, just a little later. I remember I pulled her on this hill, and I think Mom was just coming outside, and I asked her if she'd grab my camera and take a picture of me. So she went inside, and I ran up the hill, and I remember saying, "Make sure you get the skidoo in too." Look at it. Wow.